Good morning, everyone. This is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio, and this is around the ATL side notes. Clint Capela and Trae Young. Give me one moment because I want to finish up a little something here. And I think that is going to do it right there. I was doing my last post for this morning. So today, today is going to be an interesting morning. Now, I've been up until about 4 o'clock this morning putting this show together, and there's a reason why. Before I get started, though, I want to shout out to my co-host, Jordan Jackson. If I can get back on my screen, there we go. I want to shout out my co-host, Jordan Jackson. If you've noticed over the last couple of months, we have not done a joint show in a while. We have a show around the ATL that's pure, all Atlanta and Georgia sports, 2 hours of talking Atlanta, Braves, Hawks, Falcons, Atlanta Dream, Atlanta United, all the college teams in Georgia, UGA, Georgia Tech every now and again, so on and so forth. And then there's Atlanta around the ATL side notes where I actually pick a topic and I just discuss that. Well, the reason I created side notes was to kind of be a buffer in between the main show, because our schedules have just been so crazy over the last few months, between, in my case, health issues and things of that nature, and some personal things also with Jordan. But most recently found out that Jordan's mother has cancer. Okay. And this is kind of recent, over the last few weeks. And it's hit home because, of course, my father passed away from cancer some years ago, a few years ago. And so I can relate to that, and it still hurts, obviously, right? And anybody who has had anybody pass away from cancer, you know what I'm talking about right now. Or anybody experiencing cancer, you know what I'm talking about right now. We hope that doctors will be able to, find the best way to be able to treat hers and to get it out of her, obviously. But it hurts, and it takes a lot. So he's taking care of family right now. So those who know Jordan, um, make sure you keep him and his mom in your thoughts for sure. Um, that's why I haven't been on the air a lot lately, because I couldn't really do it really. But I'm back, at least for today. Thanks to NBA.com for the highlights I might play today. I don't know if I have time. I'm going to try at the very end, but thanks to NBA.com for highlights of basketball games that I play. I want to shout out to We Talk Hawks TV Home Court, Atlanta Hawks Nation, True Hawks Talk, Atlanta Hawks Diehard Fanatics, Atlanta Hawks fan pages, as well as the basketball fan page on Facebook. Also, those who are watching from other Facebook pages that I'm on, my personal Facebook pages, and also Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for watching. If you get to watch this live or after the fact, I know people are at work. This is an early show. And if you haven't, by the way, real quick, if you haven't watched the following shows, I'm going to post these real quick in the chat. And don't forget, the chat room is open. And I got Instagram working too. I just started using the Instagram for live stream, so that's pretty cool. But I'm gonna post these shows in consecutive order. I did a show recently about, let's see if this works. Okay, I have to do it like that. Journalistic integrity. So go check that show out. I did a show called It's Just Sports. I want you to go check that show out when you get a chance. I'm posting it in the chat room. And also I did a show, it's not about blaming players, it's about wanting better. So go watch that show if you get a chance on IMTM Worldwide Radio. Go subscribe and watch Around the ATL side notes. Now, the other reason I've been holding off on doing some shows lately is because something could be happening. Might not, never know. I don't mind talking about it. My show Around the ATL, there's a small chance, very small, that my show could be aired on the local station in town. Okay, podcast version, maybe not the live version, but a podcast version. But also there's a small possibility, maybe, never know, that I could be the host or co-host of the local sports station here in town. They're creating a sports show, and I've been asked about it. Okay. So you never know. But that's the other reason I've held off on doing a certain number of shows, just because. I was going to try to hold off type of a deal and, put some stuff together back to back to back just to have some stuff ready. But because of just things, again, floating out there, I decided it's time to do a show. So that was the other reason I haven't been online a whole heck of a lot. So I appreciate anybody who's a fan of the show for being patient. And of course, if you do end up liking everything that you hear, or if you know somebody who would love to watch around the ATL, definitely have them, come to the page and watch other shows. We have another call-in show that's going to be coming soon where you can call in and, speak your piece as far as Atlanta sports goes. The Olympics. Let's get started. So there was a contingent of people, and there's always going to be people who will deny it. Don't know why. Say it with your chest. That basically said, well, now that we've seen on the world stage, Bogey needs to be the primary player on our team. We need to build around Bogey. He's the best Hawk we've ever had. He's one of the best players in the NBA. Now, all that being said, it's the Olympics, and I'll say this again probably a couple times. In the Olympics, you always play better for your home country, right? And you've seen that. I mean, in any of the sports, you saw that during the games. You've heard that over and over and over again. It means a little bit different when you're playing or you're performing your sport for your home country against all those other countries, right? But keep that in mind as I continue to go forward. And because of this contingent of people who are saying these things, and you see on the world stage, you see all the best players congregated together separately, whether it be Canada or Serbia or France or Team USA and so on and so forth. These are the best players, most of them, of course, in their groups, right? We know there's that one or two stragglers, so to speak. We know who we're talking about here, Tyrese. Anyway, Hawks fans, come on, help me out here. Make sure you add to your chat. But on the world stage, you got all your better players together. So it's not fair to compare your Hawks team to the world team at all, because you have several first, second team, all defensive players and or defensive player of the year candidates and or winners on the same team. You have MVPs on the same team, world champions on the same team, or really, 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 really good players on the same team. And the Hawks don't have a congregation of those players on our team. We just don't. We haven't had numerous all-stars on the Hawks over the last 6 years. All NBA players, first, second team, all defensive. We haven't had any of that on our Hawks team. Okay. The Serbian team in particular, they had 3-time MVP. I think he's won three, right? Joker. And a world champion who's one of the dominant centers of our time. Can't stop him. He led the Olympics in what? Points and assists and all this stuff as center, right? So when you have him on your team, it makes things a lot easier for your other players just by default. And they had a lot of EuroLeague veterans over a period of time. You know how the EuroLeague do, right? So you have all these players on your team. It's not a comparison to what the Hawks have currently. It just isn't. Trent Forrest, come on, guys. But besides that, we're just going to forget all those three-pointers that Bogey has gotten from Trae per his passes from anywhere on the court at any given time. We're just going to forget about all of that? Like, really? Fast breaks from the other end of the court, and all of a sudden Bogey is hitting a wide-open three pass? Here's an example. I'm going to just post this. This is actually on the Atlanta Hawks Instagram page. I don't know if that will work or not. Y'all have to tell me if it does. But that's a compilation of like 10 passes from Trae Young from this previous season, just random 10. But you see him passing to JJ or Clint or DJ or just all these different players from anywhere on the court during the game. And you just wash that away. Because Bogey ain't out there hitting like dribble, step back three type of a deal. He's a catch and shoot player. But we'll digress on that. But the other thing, if we were talking about trying to build around Bogey, and Bogey's the best player on the Hawks and all of this, well, Bogey does tend to be inconsistent sometimes too. And again, this is just basketball. It ain't about, I don't dislike Bogey. I don't want to try to get rid of Bogey or anything like that, but we got to stay in reality a little bit here. There's such a thing as the real world. And actually what happens on the court. Again, the Olympics, the NBA. The Olympics, with all these world players around you, some of the best players at center ever. And then the Hawks. It's a little bit different. And you play different. In that particular game against the Team USA squad, Bogey was 3 for 10 from three. He didn't hit a three in the fourth quarter. His team had a 17-point lead, and they lost that game. I do believe they lost the game. I don't think they won. So you have this contingent of people who casually forget, or they want to forget when it's convenient for them that, okay, well, wins don't matter, stats matter. Or stats don't matter, wins and championships matter. So which is it? Because he went 8 for 18 from the floor that game, 20 points. Nobody could stop Curry, though. Serbia got the bronze. They didn't get the gold medal, last I checked. I don't know what color the medal really is. I saw the news story about just dissipated into nothingness. Now they got to send them out new medals. I saw that recently. That's crazy, right? Serbia didn't win that game. Serbia had some better defensive players on that team overall than the Hawks have ever had. And they just know how to do what they're supposed to do. And I'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to get into that now. But Serbia had the Joker on there. And then France, of course they had Wemby, but you got all these other players who've been playing a long time for their teams. They know who those players are. They know how to play together. They know what to do. They're really good. France had Team USA beat. Again, if it wasn't for Curry, Team USA would have the silver. If it wasn't for Steph, right? Gave them all they can handle. So let's look at some other examples in regards to shooters. Kyle Korver was never the best player of the Hawks or in the NBA. We all know him as Popcorn, right? How many threes in 13 seconds can you hit? Let's see what Kyle Korver can do, right? He was never the best player in the NBA. He was never the best player on the Hawks, but he did one thing very well, and he hit threes. Kyle Korver averaged 10 points a game for his career. Nothing wrong with that because he hit threes. Kyle is 4th all time on the Hawks list as far as three-pointers go. Now, do you just throw that away and don't care about it? It's an accomplishment. Trae Young leads the Hawks in threes. Don't care about that? 1st, 4th. Which is better? Because a lot of people would say 4th is better. That's what a contingent of people are trying to say out here. And that's why I'm doing this show today. Trae is 1st, Mookie is 2nd, Joe Johnson is 3rd, by the way. And of course, Kyle Korver, he wasn't in there to play no defense. Kyle Korver wasn't stopping nobody. We all knew that. And we didn't care because he did that one thing really good. He hit threes. He did his job. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later about doing your job. Dominique Wilkins, you know who that is? Y'all know who Dominique Wilkins is? And make sure you subscribe to the IMTM Worldwide Radio page. By the way, I didn't do this yet. Make sure, if you haven't done it already, you can follow on Instagram and Facebook under IMTM Worldwide Radio. You can follow on Twitter, Intellect ATL, it's right there. And my co-host, Jordan Jackson, Jordan23 ATL on Twitter. Make sure you go do that. And today's show, of course, is brought to you by IMTM Worldwide Images. Go to imtmworldwideimages.com. If you need photo shoot, you can see my backdrop in the back. One of my lights is right there, actually. Or you can follow on Instagram, IMTM Worldwide Images 1, and you can follow there. So if you know somebody who needs headshots, if you know an owner of a business that needs headshots for all of their employees, or if you know somebody who's pursuing acting or modeling and they need headshots for that or portfolio, or you know somebody who's pregnant and they need maternity pictures, or you know somebody who has a family who doesn't know somebody who has kids, you might want family portraits and all that kind of good stuff. Hit me up there again, Instagram and or my website there. Almost forgot to do that. Don't know why. It's been a busy day. So make sure you subscribe to the IMTM Worldwide Radio YouTube page if you're watching this and you enjoy. So do you know who Dominique Wilkins is? Dominique Wilkins has a statue in front of State Farm Arena for some crazy reason. But again, if statistics do not matter, why is he in the Hall of Fame at all? If it doesn't matter, if his career is trash, doesn't matter, there's a contingent of people are trying to say that it doesn't matter what he did because he didn't win an NBA championship. Dominique didn't win an MVP. He won a scoring championship, a couple of slam dunk championships for sure. Led his team to a streak of 50-win seasons near the end, four in a row, I believe, off the top of my head. But Dominique didn't have a reputation for defending anybody, and he played in the era of some of the best teams ever. But without Dominique, you're not in the playoffs. You're not, and when you're in the playoffs, you don't have a chance in the playoffs without Dominique. But people out here in basketball world weren't trying to kick Dominique Wilkins off the team, though. Dominique averaged 26 points a game in the playoffs. Nobody was trying to kick Dominique off the team. Never made it out the second round in his 12 seasons as a Hawk. Never made it out of the second round. Never happened. And that's unfortunate. That's terrible. I think this is, I think that's my co-host. Let me verify this real quick. Nobody was trying to kick Dominique off the team. Oh, I don't know who that is. It could be spam. He retired top 8 in scoring when he retired. Does that not matter? All of a sudden, his great accomplishment of being able to retire top 8 all time in NBA history when he retired. He was 8. He's still top 15, I believe, depending on how things have shaken out lately. I hadn't checked. I should have checked, but I didn't. Have you ever looked at the rosters of the Atlanta Hawks during his time as an Atlanta Hawk? Have you actually gone back and looked and seen who's on his team year after year? See, the strange thing about the Hawks back then is that going against those legacy teams of the Celtics and Philly and Bulls and Pistons and stuff like that, they had just enough to compete regular season wise. But when it came to the playoffs, all those other teams just too stacked. You had too many great players. You had too many all-star players. You had too many Hall of Fame players playing for individual teams. And for the Hawks, you had Neek. A few shows ago, I did a show called Rosters Matter, and I picked out the 1986 season, and I talked about the playoffs for that particular season. And I showed y'all, well, here's what Dominique did in that particular playoff year. I'm posting it in the chat, by the way. Here's what Dominique did in that particular playoff year. And here's what all the other players besides Kevin Willis did. and you give me the answer. Do you think they had a shot? And again, we're just talking about basketball. We're not talking about anything personal. It's just about wins and losses, right? The capability of being able to do such. Go look and see what Dominique has done over the years, over and over again, each year, and then get into the playoffs and what he did in the playoffs each year. Go look. But my point is right now is that you can't decide when accomplishments matter and when they don't matter. Okay? Because without the stats, without the score, first of all, without a score, there is no game. Without a score, you just got people running up and down the court. I've talked about this before. You're literally are just getting exercise now. And the statistical parts of Taurean Prince, what's a rebound? Bringing the ball down, and that's a rebound, right? There's things that, because of a rebound, a steal, a block shot, an assist, and things of this nature, that dictates how the game is going. How many rebounds did you end up with as a team? How many offensive? How many defensive? Did you have any block shots at all? Fast break points. These things matter. I did a show called Accomplishments Matter. I'm going to post that in the chat now. You can go check. And I'm sorry that I didn't post the name of each of these shows, but just click on them. Shoot. I'm telling you what they are. You can go back and, oh, this is that. Okay, cool. Because I'm doing them in order. So go check that out. Accomplishments do matter. By the way, nobody has ever thrown the fit of Dominique Wilkins shooting 42% from the floor during the playoffs in his career as a Hawk. Or 24% from three as a Hawk. Ain't no one ever said that. Or his defense. You want to know why? Because without Dominique Wilkins, you're not even competing. Those 12 seasons, you don't win a lot of games without Dominique Wilkins on your team doing the one thing he is good at, which is scoring the doggone basketball. That was his job. By the way, no one ever really was talking about Trae and his defense. I'm going to get into that later. Or his shooting during 2020 season ECF run, or the Boston series, or that Miami series for that matter. No one was talking about that. Well, maybe his shooting in the Miami series, but that was mostly because Coach Spo ain't going to let nobody beat you when everybody else on the team is hurt. Hunter was the only player hurting them. You stop Trae, they don't got too much. I'll get into that a little bit later. But nobody was talking about Trae Young as we were beating the Knicks and so on and so forth. Philly. Like, Trae Young literally beat the Knicks. Beat Philly, messed up Ben Simmons' career. Bucks would have swept us. I'll show that a little bit later, and I've done it before, but I'm going to do it again today. Trae Young has averaged 26 points a game in the playoffs, just like Dominique has in his career as a Hawk, but he's also averaged 10 assists a game. But that's bad. Despite the fact no other Hawks have ever done that. No other Hawk has done what Trae Young has done in 6 seasons. But that's bad. And the ones who haven't done that, how come you're not incensed at them for not being better, quote unquote, and leading the team to a championship? There are no other groups of Hawks players that have won an NBA championship in 50 plus years. There's only 2 teams that have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But at least Nick had Willis as a big that could score, hit some shots. Some other complementary players that, again, was able to hold their own against legacy teams. Bird, Barkley, Jordan, right? Think about that. Even the Cavs and the Bucks back then were tough teams in the East. The Knicks. At least the Hawks for a period of time had Mutombo and Mookie on the same team playing defense. There's some great Steve, Smitty. I used to copy his move, the Smitty. I used to do that move when I was younger. I was shorter, not as tall as I was now. They made first, second team all defensive team several times. Made some all-star teams. Again, Trae Young has never played with anybody who's been an all-star. 6 seasons has gone by. The last time a Hawk was on let's go through this real quick. Last time a Hawk was on an all defensive team, second team, was Paul Millsap. And before that was Josh Smith. The last 6 seasons, there are no Hawks on first or second team all defense. None. 0. And only Clint in 2020 has any votes for Defensive Player of the Year. Nobody since Dikembe. Let me take that back. Between Dikembe winning his 2 back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year and now, there will probably be a few that have some Defensive Player of the Year votes. Clint is the most recent one in 2020. But definitely not after that. And before that, there's some gaps there. You see what I'm saying? Mookie Blaylock has gotten some. Mookie Blaylock, and I'll get into him probably a little bit later, but I'll mention it again. He had a stretch of 7 years where he was either first, second team all defense, or he was getting some Defensive Player of the Year votes every year as a Hawk. Okay. But defense hasn't been the concentration of the Hawks per who they've been bringing in, because they easily could have done that. They've chosen not to for whatever reason. Now, I've broken down what some of our better players in Hawks history have done, and I'm gonna review it again. But I did post a response initially when I heard this contingent of people saying, well, Bogey is the best player. We should build around Bogey. We should just concentrate on Bogey and all this. So there was a response that I posted. But before I get into that, what the heck is that? I hope that's not going to be the whole rest of this morning. I don't know if they're doing construction out here or that's a truck. But hopefully it's not too loud. Bogey, again, I like Bogey. All I say is Bogey can't start for us. That's my biggest thing. And I'll get into why in a second. But Bogey, career 14 points a game player, shooting 43% from the floor, 38% from 3. He averaged 13 a game the last time the Hawks were in the playoffs. That's against Boston. 14 points a game against the Heat and 14 against the Knicks, Philly, and Bucks. Because remember, the Hawks have only played 27 playoff games in the last 6 years. Okay. Shot 32% in the ECF run from 3, 34% against Miami. He did kill it against Boston. He was shooting 45% from 3 against Boston, Bogey did. Okay. So let's talk about Boston series. Because again, we're talking Bogey. We're going to replace Trae with Bogey as the primary player on our team, because that's what people have said all over the place. Can't deny it because I've synced it. Okay, so I can read. All right, it was immediate too. It was immediate. So Bogey during the Boston series had 9 points, 18 points, 15 points, 8 points, 18 points, and 12 points. Okay, not bad. 9 points and 8 points ain't great, obviously. Trae, 16 and 8, 24 and 6, 32 and 9, 35 and 15. Those are assists, obviously. 38 and 13 and 30 and 10. Now, meanwhile, in that Boston series, Tatum was averaging 27 a game and Brown was averaging 22 a game. If we could have just slowed those two guys up a little bit, we beat Boston. Trae don't guard neither of those guys. We had Boston on the ropes, and we didn't have enough. Versus Miami, in the Miami series, Bogey had 6 points, 18 points. He did have a 29-point game, 4 points. But then he didn't play the last game, game 5. Kevin Huerter, formerly of the Atlanta Hawks, had 8 points, 9 points, 13 points, 4 points, 12 points. That's not a lot of help. when Trae is getting bunched up on. Now, Trae did have a couple of decent games in there. He had a 25-7 game and a 24-8 game. One of those games the Hawks did win. But he had some bad games in there because, again, Coach Spo said, nah, we ain't letting Trae Young beat us. Nah, ain't going to happen. See, Hawks don't do that. Hawks just let the best player on the other team do whatever they want to do. Other teams, they say, if there ain't enough help out here, we could just concentrate on Trae and take our chances on somebody blowing up. And that's what they did. Hunter had great scoring set of games, but it was just Hunter, nobody else. Again, John was hurt, Gallo was hurt, Bogey was hurt, Clint wasn't really playing. Kevin wasn't doing nothing. Kevin was not a threat. I just told you what Kevin did. I'm going to say it again. He had 8. Wait a minute. He had 8 points, 9 points, 13 points, 4 points, 12 points. And go look at his shooting percentage in that Miami series as well. Kevin Huerter. 2020 ECF run. Against the Knicks, Bogey had 18, 18, 15, 12, and 9. Not bad. First round. Kevin had 8, 11, 10, 10, and 8. Hunter had 5, 18, 11, 5, and 15. That's the Knicks series. Trae against the Knicks, 32 and 10, 30 and 7, 21 and 14, 27 and 9, 36 and 9. Without Trae, we don't get by the Knicks. We just don't. Now, after that, Hunter didn't play the rest of that playoff series, so we were down a player, right? Bogey in that Philly series did pretty well until the end. Bogey had 21, 14, 19, 22, and then 6 points, 7 points, and 4 points in that Philly series. Kevin had it was a mixed bag, 15 points, 20 points, 3 points, 10 points, 0 points, 17 points, 27 points. Game 7 Kevin game. But 3 points, 10 points, 0 points in 3 games straight, Kevin Huerter, not too great. Trae against Philly was 35 and 10, 21 and 11, 21, 28 and 8, 25 and 18, 39 and 7, 34 and 12, 21 and 10. Without Trae, we don't beat Philly. Against the Bucks, Bogey had 4 points. That was first game. He had 4. Second game, he had 8. Third game, he had 8. Fourth game, he had 20. Remember, now Trae is not there. Somebody got to pick up. He did 28 and then 20. Kevin, 13 points, 8 points, 11 points, 20 points, 8 points, 5 points. I will say this again. If Kevin had helped us a little bit, we still beat the Bucks, despite Trae not even really being healthy at that point because he came back. Trae against the Bucks was 48 and 11, 15 and 3, 35 and 4. The 2 hurt games he didn't play, and then 14 and 9, where he wasn't really right, but he still, he played. If we got more than 5 points from Kevin in that Bucks series, we beat the Bucks and end up in the finals anyway. Now, whether or not we could have beat Phoenix, I say we could have gave them a run for their money, but we at least would have won the Eastern Conference. We would have had an appearance in Trae's 3rd season. But without Trae, we don't get past the Knicks. But we're going to replace Trae with Bogey. We're going to make him the primary player, get rid of Trae. That's what people are saying. We're going to casually just erase what Trae has done so far in the playoffs thus far as a Hawk compared to all the other Hawks over the last 6 years and what they have done. And the Hawks in the last 25 seasons, what they have done. I don't think that makes sense, but Trae is one of only 2 Hawks to average 25 or more in the playoffs. Of course, the other is Neek. Trae is one and only one who's averaged 9.5 assists plus a game in the playoffs. In the playoffs, not regular season, but the playoffs, that kind of counts, right? Look at the rosters of the Hawks over the last 6 seasons compared to the Eastern Conference. Cavs, Raptors, Bucks, Heat, and Boston twice have appeared in the NBA Finals, with Boston, Bucks, and Raptors winning a title. And look at what they've done over those 6 years in compiling their roster, and then look at what the Hawks have done. I'm going to get into that a little bit later as well. And it doesn't compare. Now, again, I don't agree with making Bogey the primary and just getting rid of Trae Young per what he has done. And I'm going to add this real quick. For the same reason you didn't get rid of Curry in his younger days before he got to his first championship. The same reason you didn't get rid of Mike Jordan, who didn't win his first championship until what age? When did Jordan get to the Eastern Conference? How long did it take Michael Jordan to get to the Eastern Conference Finals? The last 2 of the 3 seasons with our current roster, Trae Young has led the NBA in assists, total assists. Would have done it again if not for missing 28 games. 3 years in a row, passing the ball to everybody, leading the league, a league leader in assists. And again, everyone has a job, and I keep talking about this. For some reason, no one cares about the fact that shooting guards average 30 points against the Hawks and small forwards average 27 points against the Hawks. It takes a whole team to give up points, but you're supposed to have players who are supposed to be the best at defense to stop the other team or slow them down. And for some reason, that's ignored. That's just blah, blah, don't worry about that. We don't care if these teams just drop bombs on us every night. We don't care about that. We don't care that nobody else will and or can do their job. And again, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. By the way, Joel Embiid ain't scoring 38 points a game on Trae. Because Trae don't guard Joel Embiid. Bron isn't getting 25 on Trae. He don't guard LeBron or Tatum 28 or whatever he be doing. That's not on Trae. Trae don't guard that guy. And people are not switching on Trae. Hey, I'm Joel Embiid. I need a screen so I can back down Trae Young. That's not happening because he don't have to do that. He can score on anybody who's guarding him. And the tape shows that, by the way, which I've done that plenty of times already. Go look at those shows on Around the ATL on IMTM Worldwide Radio. Now, other teams, what they do is they fit players around their best players. That's what other teams have done. But the Hawks organization refuses to do that. They didn't do it for Dominique. They're not doing it for Trae Young. They're the best players we've had in that span. Okay? But Dallas has done it for Luka several times. Their record reflects that. Luka don't play no defense. He don't play no defense. He turns the ball over 4 times a game. Nobody cares about that, but they keep putting players around him. They went and got Gafford and PJ, and it changed their whole season. They got to the finals because of those moves. And in the Dallas game I'm about to post, might do that show today if I have enough energy. One of their play-by-play guys even talks about that during the game, how the move they made in February changed the points in the paint that they were giving up, the percentage that people were shooting points in the paint, and overall putting those guys around Luka just changed everything around with having people like Derek Lively and all and Jones and stuff like that. It changed their whole dynamic and just made them a better team. And they got all the way to the Western Conference Finals. They won, got to the finals. But the Hawks don't do stuff like that though. For some reason, not sure why. Not sure why. All the teams in the East have improved as the Hawks have just kind of stayed pat. They've just been stagnant. And the records reflect it. Look at all the teams that are above us now. Orlando, the Cavs, the Bucks, the Knicks are above us now. That ain't supposed to happen. free agency, trades, the draft, it matters. Nobody's mad at Steve Nash getting back-to-back MVPs, by the way, not playing defense and averaging 18 points, 11 assists, and 15 points and 10 assists, and won 2 MVPs doing that. But the Suns were loaded, and the Suns were technically loaded before Steve Nash got there. By the way, I'm going to say this real quick. And this is in the Rosters Matter show that I posted earlier on the chat room. A year before Steve Nash went to the Suns from Dallas, the Suns had won 29 games that particular season with Amari Stoudemire, Matrix, Joe Johnson. Steve Nash gets there. And by the way, Steve Nash was not leading the league in assists every year. 7 seasons, and he had never led the league in assists. And he had Dirk on his team there in Dallas. Well, he goes to that Phoenix team, and all of a sudden he's leading the league in assists every year. The Suns have the number one offensive rating team, and he wins back-to-back MVPs per the roster construction. They said, we got the roster. We just need that person to come in here and dish it out. Look at what was on their rosters. And I did that in the Rosters Matter show. Trae Young has led the league in 2 of the last 3 seasons with all rosters that we've had over the last 6 seasons. But nobody cares about none of that, though. But you keep trying to disparage Trae in that he's doing too well. Somebody said gaudy numbers. Dominique has some gaudy numbers. Dropping 45 here, 60 there. Nobody cares about his gaudy numbers. But he didn't win a championship. Where is the line? You see what I'm saying? Didn't play no defense. Wasn't his job to play defense, really, but, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. No Hawk in history has done, and a lot of people in the NBA has done what Trae Young has done. First of all, Trae Young is the active leader in assists right now per game. Active leader, number 1. All the NBA, no passing the ball is Trae Young. He is 4th all time. Magic Johnson, John Stockton, Oscar Robertson, Trae Young is 4th all time in NBA history in assists per game. That's the list. That's it. Well, of course, it's not it. There's people below that, but top 4 is pretty doggone good, right? All in NBA history. Did you know that Trae Young leads the Hawks in assists? You should know that. In threes, I told you that earlier, but he's also 3rd in double-doubles in Hawks history. The Hawks have only won 8 playoff series in the last 25 years, and 2 of them were with Trae. I've reminded people of this a lot. There was a lot of players missing with injuries last year on the Hawks. It wasn't just Trae. During Trae's 28 missed games, it wasn't just Trae out. It was Trae plus Saddiq Bey plus Okongwu plus Jalen Johnson. There was 4 players out, sometimes at the same time. And then you also had Hunter miss 25 games again. We couldn't replace all of that. We didn't have a roster that could sustain that. And our record dictates that. Directly, it dictates it. But for some, people would believe that, oh, well, Trae's 28 games, we played, blah, blah, blah. We weren't 20-8. We were 14-14 in those games. And we stopped nobody. Because everybody's also contention is, oh, well, Trae Young is preventing the team from playing defense. No, I showed why that's not true. And I'll post that show a little bit later if I can find it. So with all those players out, you couldn't really recover from that. We didn't have any depth. And that's, again, goes back to rosters matter. You have to have a accumulation of players that not only fit, but can produce on a regular doggone basis. And in today's league, there's certain things that are just important that weren't as important 15, 20 years ago. We are not where the kids say, they say, we're tired of the 90s, right? Well, why can't we play today's game like everybody else in the league is doing? And this is why I decided to do the game-by-game review of the 2023 Hawks season. If you subscribe to the IMTM Worldwide Radio YouTube page, you'll see that for yourself, okay? And I'll talk about the games that I've done so far in a little bit later. But I show you shot for shot in regards to the team is not communicating on defense. They're not fighting through screens. They're not switching. They can't rotate. They're not blocking out. They don't even know how to play zone. They don't get back on defense. I'm going to say this again, probably a few times. The Atlanta Hawks were 28th in fast break points given up, 25th in points in the paint given up. They gave up 14 threes a game. All of that is bad. They were 26 in blocks. All of that is bad. You can't compete well like that, scoring the way we were. We didn't score enough points to hold that up. We needed to do like the Pacers and score 130 a game. We scored 118, gave up 120. Can't be successful like that. By the way, one player can't give up 157 points by themselves. That's what the Pacers scored last game of the regular season against the Hawks. Did you know Bogey gave up 5 3-pointers a game often during this regular season for the Hawks? Clint also gives up a lot of threes, mostly because he refuses to defend the player out on the top of the key, whether it be a big, off of a switch, or a non-switch. He won't come up. And thus he gives up a lot of threes because he won't rotate, he won't contest. But y'all don't care about that for some reason. And I'm not sure why you don't, because that goes into wins and losses. Again, rosters matter. All the other teams, again, build around their best players yearly. The Hawks, not so much. Remember the 60-win team? Remember the 60-win team? Look at the 60-win team's roster. This will be your homework. Look at the 60-win team's roster and look at what they did the very next year to what? Get to the actual finals? Did they do anything to do that? Because usually that's what you think is what you want to do. You got to the Eastern Conference Finals and you got swept. Next year, we got to do something to make that better, to make sure that doesn't happen again. Go look at the roster. Go look at the roster change. Okay? The 2020 ECF run. We got to the Eastern Conference Finals. You would think it would be logical for the next year we do something to get better, to say we were 2 games away from the finals. We need to get to the finals. Did that happen? No, it didn't. And I'm about to show you that in a second. So the 2018 roster of the Atlanta Hawks. Someone mentioned and used the verbiage coach killer. You know what a real coach killer is? Somebody who is relied upon to produce doing their job and they don't do it, like ever. That's what a coach killer is. You're relying on that person to get all the rebounds. You're relying on that person to get all the threes. You're relying on that person. That's what a coach killer is, really. And I have a show, I think I've already posted it. What's the point? If you know what, if I didn't, let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I'm going to post this in the chat room. And again, you can catch up. The show I just posted, what's the point? I asked 3 questions. Number 1, have you ever played basketball before? If you played basketball, was it your goal to win the game or just run up and down the court? If your goal was to win the game, is it ever okay for someone else to do your job? What is your job? Are you the tallest and biggest? I just did a show, a Sunday night basketball show, where when I go play basketball, I talk about what happened that night, wins and losses of teams I was on. and how it happened, fundamentals and stuff like that. Right. And I haven't posted it on here yet. But when I get on the court, I'm usually the biggest and tallest guy on the court. One of my jobs by default, I got to get some rebounds. I can't let 5'5" guy get a rebound over me. I'm the biggest and tallest guy out there. I got the 7-foot reach. What's going on? So what's your job? Rebounding, scoring, blocking shots, steals, getting threes, getting to the basket, setting screens, whatever your job is it ever okay for someone else to do your job that you're supposed to be better at than anybody else? The answer is no. But why is it acceptable to y'all that it happens with the Hawks all the time, that people absolve themselves from doing their job? They won't pick their man up and they create mismatches. It's because they won't get up the floor and stay on their man and stay attached. Why is that? Y'all don't care about these things? Or you hate Trae Young so much that it don't matter to you? That doesn't make sense to me at a certain point, y'all. Those teams that won rings over the last 6 years, look at their roster construction. Look at the players that were either all-stars or defensive players, first, second team all defense. A couple of them are MVPs. All these different players playing. Look at the rosters and then look at our roster over the last 6 years and tell me, how did we compare to those teams? I'm going to tell you now. So, and again, just a reminder, Trae Young is the only Hawk that has been an all-NBA player, the only Hawk that has been an all-star over the last 6 years, and he was snubbed once. We have had nobody on first, second team all defense, and nobody who's won defensive player of the year. And the only one in the last 6 years that has gotten any defensive player of the year votes was Clint Capela, and that was 2020. So here's our roster in 2018. Jalen Adams, Justin Anderson, Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Bembry, Vince Carter, John Collins, Devontae Davis, Dwayne Dedmon, Tyler Dorsey, Daniel Hamilton, Kevin Huerter, Isaac Humphries, BJ Johnson, Alex Lynn, Jeremy Lin, Miles Plumlee, Alex Poitras, Taurean Prince, Jordan Siebert, Omari Spellman, Trae Young, Tyler Zeller. That was our roster in 2018. Interesting. Here's our roster in 2019. Charlie Brown Jr., Vince Carter, John Collins, Alan Crabb, Dwayne Dedmon, Bruno Fernando, Brandon Goodwin, Travion Graham, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, Damian Jones, Alex Lynn, Jabari Parker, Chandler Parsons, Cam Reddish, Jeff Teague, Evan Turner, Tyrone Wallace, Paul Watson, Trae Young. Now, how did the 2019 team get better than the 2018 team? (2020) roster: Bogey, Clint, John, Chris, Bruno, Gallo, Brandon, Solo, Kevin, Hunter, Nathan Knight, the Dark Knight, Skylar Mays, Okongwu, Cam, Rajon Rondo, Tony Snell, Lou Williams, Trae Young. Now, this is when you could say and can say and should say the team did improve. Look at all the veterans on that team all of a sudden. And then you had players have huge jumps. John Collins, right? Because he could hit a shot and finish at the basket and hit three. But that team went to the Eastern Conference Finals. That team, from the 2019 roster to the 2020 roster, went to the ECF despite what I just mentioned earlier, what actually happened in those Eastern Conference Finals series. Remember, the Hawks have only won 8 playoff series in the last 25 years, and 2 of them was with Trae Young. Okay? And again, I hate scheduling the show at 9 o'clock in the morning where everybody's at work, but hopefully y'all will watch after the fact. I will repost the show. So you would think that the Hawks organization would say, man, we just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. We were 2 games away from getting to the finals. 2021, let's do something about that. Cat Barber, Bogey, Chandra Brown Jr., Clint, John, Sharif, What is this? Bear with me here. I'm getting a message. It is live. Not sure why it's giving me that message. Oh. Okay, so apparently Instagram has a buffer on there for how long your stream is. That's fine. Anyway, here's what the Hawks did in 2021 after being 2 games away from the finals. Here's the roster. Cat Barber, Bogey, Chandra Brown Jr., Clint, John, Sharif Cooper, Gorgie Dang, Gallo, Malcolm Hill, Solo, Kevin, Hunter, Weston Wundu, Jalen Johnson, Kevin Knox, TLC, just had to play, Skylar Mays, Okongwu, Cameron Oliver, Cam Reddish, Lance Stevenson, Dark Liquor himself, Lou Williams, DeLon Wright, Trae Young again. And obviously, we didn't get back to the Eastern Conference Finals with that roster. 2022 roster. Now, this was a team, and I've documented this a lot over the last couple of years, but definitely during the season. And actually, I did an article about it. Well, the article wasn't about the whole 2022 season per afterwards, but was during the season. I'm going to post that here in the chat room. Go check that out. But I did an article about what could have been rather than what actually happened with that 2022 roster. Go check that out if you get a chance. But that team lost 12 games after having a 10-point lead or more during that season. Very upsetting. But here's the roster of the 2022 season. Saddiq Bey, Bogey, Clint, John, Jarrett Culver, Bruno, Trent Forrest, AJ, Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, Hunter, Jalen Johnson, Frank the Tank, Vic, Tyrese Martin, Garrison Matthews, DJ, Okongwu, Donovan, and Trae Young. Now, things should have went better, and they didn't. But no matter what, we should have beat Boston. We had Boston. Trae did his job. DJ did his job. He was scoring points until he was suspended game 5. He didn't have a good game 6 as far as scoring wise. But DJ did his part. Hunter, I think, off the top of my head, averaged about 17 a game in that playoff series, but he wasn't stopping nobody, though. That was the problem. We needed him. We needed him as our wing player, drafted 4th in the draft, as a defensive player of the year in college basketball and the ACC. We needed him to do the job of stopping Jason Tatum, scoring 27 points a freaking game. It had to happen. Him or Brown, he had to pick one. Or score 27 points a game himself. Because I always say, if you can't stop somebody, you got to equal out the production of the other player that you can't stop at least do that. Which, of course, didn't happen in the Bulls play-in game where he scored 8 points, 2 rebounds, and nobody cares about that for some reason. That's a whole nother story. So we went from that roster to the roster of this year, which was Saddiq Bey, Bogey, Kobe, Clint, Bruno, Trent, AJ, Mohamed Gay, Hunter, Jalen Johnson, Vitt, Seth Lundy, Garrison, Wesley, Patty Mills, who never played, DJ, Okongwu, Dylan Weiler, and Trae Young again. And we know we had multiple starters and one of our primary bench players not play for this season. We missed a lot of games with injuries this year, and we just weren't deep enough. Garrison Matthews averaged 5 points a game. Vitt, 2, 3, 4 points a game. That's what they did. Yeah, they had a couple of games they scored 16 or whatever, but it wasn't every game. If it was every game, we'd be talking about something different. Which is why I'm doing the review of the 2023 season shot for shot for shot. Okay? So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to get me some water. I'm parched. Sorry doing a 2-hour show on your own. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to get into the actual topic of this show. But I had to do the front end of that in regards to Bogey and Trae to show it would not make any sense to say, let's get rid of Trae Young and what he has done in his career so far as a Hawk who wants to be here and replace him with Bogey. And I'm going to show even more so, why that would be important not to do that, especially in the next game I'm going to review, which is the Dallas Mavericks, game 77 of the Hawks regular season. Hopefully you tune in for that, hopefully after the fact. I got to find out when people are available sometimes, but I just had to do this show today. Couldn't help it. But let me take a break. This is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Let's see if I can pull something up here. I'm going to go ahead and play a commercial. Well, it's not a commercial. It's the intro for my show, Women in Business. I created a show that concentrates on women who have created their own businesses. So I'm going to play that, and then I'll come back with my promo for my show, and then we'll get started for the second half of the show. And we are back. This is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio. This is around the ATL side notes, Clint Capela and Trae Young. If you notice in the Women in Business intro, a lot of those ladies that you saw, some of them were sports related, like Angel McCoughtry, two-time Olympic gold medalist, former Atlanta Dream player. So again, if you enjoy Atlanta sports, we cover everybody. if you care about that type of thing. So, second half of the show. 25 years, the Hawks have only won 8 playoff series, and 2 of those was with Trae. I've said that, right? Should be 3 because we should have beat Boston. I just mentioned that. Again, Trae is the reason we beat the Knicks. Without Trae Young, we don't beat the Knicks in that playoff series. We don't beat Philly. We weren't going to be competitive with the Bucks. But for some reason, forget about all that. That doesn't matter. Let's get rid of Trae and just elevate Bogey. Okay. And again, I like Bogey, but he ain't the best player on our team. He'll be better off the bench, and I'll say why a little bit later. Okay. Gaudy numbers. So again, accomplishments matter, and I've posted in the chat room plenty of my shows, including the Accomplishment Matters show, because they do. But let's talk about Hawks lifetime again. Without Trae Young in the lineup, lifetime for the Hawks are 27-33. 27 wins, 33 losses without Trae Young in the lineup. That's 60 games, by the way, doing the math, right? The Hawks weren't 40-20 without Trae Young. They're not 50-10. They're not 60-0. They're 27-33. So if Trae Young don't matter and his production doesn't matter on this team, why is that record the way it is? The reason is you just don't take out what Trae does and just simply replace it. Just like one does not simply walk into Mordor, right? And again, Trae Young, all-time leader in assists. You know how hard it is to do that? To lead your franchise in a category like assists? You're passing it a lot. And you know you got a lot of opportunities that don't end up in the basket because of missed shots or fumble passes and things of that nature. He's 4th all time in assists per game, folks, on your team. And I mentioned before, he's 3rd in double doubles and he's leading in 3-pointers on our team. He's probably going to end up 5th in steals as a Hawk. Let me just reiterate this. Magic Johnson, John Stockton, Oscar Robertson, Trae Young, assists per game. That is the list with our rosters. He's active leader in assists per game. Luka is 12th, by the way. LeBron is 26, if you wanted to know. Trae is above Isaiah Thomas, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash, by the way. But none of those players matter. Those players are trash, right? They got to be. If Trae is trash, those players are trash too. Trae Young only has Oscar, LeBron, and James Harden and Russell Westbrook ahead of him. All time in NBA history, he's only played 6 seasons in 30-point, 10 assist games. We're talking about some of our great scorers and great assist men of our time, and Trae is 5th, right? All time. And he's going to pass Russell, James, and LeBron. LeBron is not going to play forever, by the way. I don't think he is. And my fault, and the reason he's 5th is because, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, he's tied because Luka finally caught up. He's 1 game ahead of him with 78 games, I believe, off top, because Trae was out, right? Well, all those other players, their careers are trash, apparently. Trae's going to pass all these guys except for Oscar. I don't think anybody can beat Oscar for that. But playoff history, let's talk playoffs. Playoffs, he's 8th all time in 30-point, 10 assist games. In 27 playoff games, he's 8th all time already. And again, he would have led the NBA in total assists 3 years in a row if not for him being hurt. With our roster, he did that. Imagine if we just had bits and pieces of players that were just a little bit better even. But we don't want that though, apparently. Trae is one of 2 players in NBA history to lead the league in total points and assists. There's only been 2 players in the NBA in all of its history that has done that, and one of them is Trae Young. In 6 seasons, he's done that. Only Trae and Dominique have had seasons of 25 points or more in a season multiple times. Joe Johnson did do it once, but just Trae and Neek. Only Trae Young has averaged 8 or more assists in each season as a Hawk. Nobody else. So again, why aren't you mad at all the other point guards in Hawks history that haven't done that? They didn't do that. That don't matter that they're able to dish it more than others, help the team get where they need to be, because that's the job. Only Trae and Neek have averaged 25 or more in the playoffs for the Hawks as Hawks in history. Only Trae in the playoffs has averaged 8 or more assists in the playoffs as a Hawk. By the way, let me bring this up while I'm thinking about it. Hawks ain't losing games because of Trae Young's 4 turnovers a game, just like Dallas don't be losing games because of Luka's 4 a game. And someone said, well, Magic is a world champion multiple times and stuff. But look at the players he had around him as he was getting 4 turnovers a game as well. It sure is a nice pocket to have Kareem freaking Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy on your team. My goodness. Let Trae get a Hall of Famer on his team one of these times. Even if they scored 2 points off of every turnover, 2, 4, 6, 8 points, Trae overlaps that with his production. 25 points a game, 10 assists. That's evened out, which I always keep saying. So if you have a deficiency somewhere, you got to even it out somewhere. I'm getting to that a little bit more too. If Trae Young was scoring 7 points a game, getting 2 assists a game, and getting 4 turnovers a game, you'd have an argument. And again, nobody talks about Luka, and Luka just made it to his finals because his team decided to do stuff to get his team to the finals because he plays no defense. 6 seasons, Trae Young has not had an all-star around him. It matters. LeBron James has averaged 25 points or more and 9 assists or more in the same season twice. Harden has done it twice. Westbrook has done it twice. Luka has done it once. Trae Young has done it 5 of the last 6 seasons. He didn't do it his rookie year. He's done it every year since then. But that don't matter. LeBron James, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Luka. Those other players got to be trash because Trae is trash. That's what people are telling me. Dominique Wilkins is the only small forward in Hawks history other than big dog Glenn Robinson that averaged 20 points or more in a season. Hunter has never done it, 14 points a game average. Prior to Hunter, who has done it? Marvin, Bays, Dwayne Farrell, DeMar Johnson, Ken Norman, Cam, Rashawn McLeod, Doug Edwards, Ira Newbell, TLC? I don't think so. But nobody should care about Dominique's numbers, right? Because Neek never made it past the second round, never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, never won a ring. You got to throw his out too, don't you? And again, it's not about whether or not you hate a player or dislike a player. These are facts. This is what happened. And as much as we enjoy watching our players and teams play over the years, at a certain point, you want guys to be better to help the team win. And if they can't do that or not doing it, you got to add something or take something away. And the Hawks would never do it. Rashawn McLeod? Doug Edwards? How many more teams Cam is going to play on after he was elevated by Anthony Edwards and he ain't never. But just throw Trae's history out. Best Hawk we've had since Neek. One of the best NBA players right now. Just throw it all out. Don't matter. Joe Johnson and Steve Smith are one of two of a few shooting guards other than DJ in the 2 years he was here to average 20 points in a season. Kevin didn't do it, 12 points a game career. Only Moses Malone and Bob Pettit as centers have averaged 20 points in a season. Moses did it once, his 1 year here. Now, Mutombo, yeah, he wasn't a scorer, but he offset that by Defensive Player of the Year multiple times, first, second team, all defense for years as a Hawk. Oh, no. Horford never did it. Clint hasn't. Andrew Lane, Concat, Dedman, Alex Lynn, Tree Rollins, Theo Ratliff, Kevin when he would play center, never did it. Zaza, Jason Collins. Al did come close. He had an 18-point-a-game season in 2013. That's a long time ago. Power forwards. Rasheed Wallace had a game for the Hawks. He scored 20 points in one game, the one game he played for us. But as far as power forwards, Antoine Walker did it once for us. Sharif Abdul-Rahim did it once. John Collins did it twice. 19.5 points a game, that's 20 points. 21.6 points a game. He did that back-to-back seasons. And that's it for power forwards for the Hawks in all the Hawks history. All the Hawks history, that's it. Not Cliff Levingston, not Hindu, not Millsap, not Josh, not Al, not Kevin Willis. Point guards. Now, point guards wise, Mookie was our best defender ever as a point guard. Again, he had a stretch of 7 years where he was either first, second all-team defense or getting Defensive Player of the Year votes. And he hit some threes too, didn't he? Mookie Blaylock did. Sure did. Scoring-wise, Dennis, 19 points a game season. He had one. Jason Terry had a couple of seasons. He averaged 19 a game. But Trae Young is the only point guard for the Atlanta Hawks in their all-their history who averaged 19 or more 6 seasons straight. He's averaging 25 right now. Passing-wise for the point guard, Doc Rivers, he had 1 10-assist season. Mookie, he had 9.7, so he had a 10-assist season once. Jeff's highest was 8. Dennis' highest was 6. Spud's highest was 7. Tony Delk, Captain Kurt, Ty Lue, Dan Dickow, Speedy Claxton, which we're probably still paying under the table. Brevin Knight, Eldridge Kastner, Ramil Robinson, Royale Ivy with cheese. AC Law. Passing wise, we already know where Trae is at, so I won't go into that. But again, where are the other Hawks over the years that took us to the championship, took us to the Eastern Conference Finals, took us to the playoffs year after year, was a dominant player on the court? And why aren't you mad about that? You should be mad, I would think, but you're not, because for some reason you only hate Trae Young. You just hate him. Hatred is there. The vitriol is there. These things that people are saying are there. They're in print. They're in public. Ooh, excuse me. Bear with me here. Oh, man. By the way, Trae Young has done all these things in just 6 NBA seasons. So let's talk about Clint. And it looks like I did my break a little bit early, but that's okay. So first of all, again, just like I said with Bogey, I don't hate Bogey. I don't dislike Bogey, but you can't just say we're going to replace Trae Young with Bogey. You can't just say that. Okay. So I don't dislike Clint. I don't hate Clint. I just say that Clint can't start no more. And there's reasons why, and I'm going to get into them. I wrote an article some years ago about Okongwu. I'm going to post it real quick in the chat. And again, sorry for not being able to give y'all titles and all these, but you'll just click on them as you go in order when you watch this. Just click on it and watch. You can pause and watch it and then come back. That's why I'm doing it like this. Well, I posted this article on Okongwu, not because I didn't like Clint. It was just about the best fit for the team per how the league is type of a deal. And Okongwu gives you things that Clint can't give you. This was 2 years ago I wrote this article. So go look at that. But every year we see the league change. And again, we see teams getting better, whether through the draft or trades or free agency, and the Hawks just stand pat. Now, one of the things I've said is we need to get a big man coach and we need to get a better defensive coach on our assistant bench that's great at defense. I've been saying this for years, and I've given the reasons why using game film and everything else that revolves around the game each night. I used to, a couple years ago, after each game, I would come on Facebook Live and show points in the paint, second chance points given up, fast break points given up, and 3-pointers. Look at why we lost this game here. Why wasn't this addressed during the game? Why weren't there any adjustments? We just out there. I've been saying that for a long time. Even on the radio show, when I used to do just the radio show, I would use that phrase all the time. We just out there. We just out there, guys. Just running up and down. Christopher Foote on the We Talk Hawks Facebook page, home court, mentioned how we got to go that route and actually get a big man coach and get a defensive coach or defensive-minded coach. We're already in trouble. And I said, yeah, but at a certain point, if players themselves are not self-aware of what they're doing is wrong or messing up things, if they're not self-aware or they just don't know, you can't keep just letting them do whatever at a certain point if winning matters. It doesn't matter if they've been playing basketball since junior high school, which is why in the show I did called What's the Point? I mentioned, have you played junior high school, college, semi-pro, any pros out there? Because at a certain point, and this is why I use my business analogy in working with people, if I'm the manager of a restaurant and I continually have the same server putting in the wrong order and bringing out the wrong food to the guest, and I'm having to recuperate that guest and give away free food, I can't keep letting that happen because my job is on the line now. Something is wrong. I got to go to that person and say, okay, let me see what you're doing in the system. First of all, let me see what you're actually writing down when you're putting down the order in your book. And then let me see how you're translating that into the system. And then let me see how you're going back to the kitchen and pulling the items. What's going on? Because you keep giving people the wrong stuff. See, that's my job. I got to retrain that person. That's my job. Now, some people don't like doing their jobs. I understand that. But for me, it's my job because my job is on the line. And if that person isn't capable, I got to get rid of them. I can replace them. If I got a person in my store who can't sell no phones, they're selling 40 phones and the goal is 60, that's 20 phones difference. I got to figure out what's going on. How are you greeting people? Are you explaining things well? Are you showing them the phone that they are looking for? Did you find out what they're looking for? Did you ask enough questions? I got to listen and find out what they're doing and then come back and say, let's backtrack. Let's do this instead of this and that instead of this. I got to get them improved because otherwise it's my job on the line and or I got to replace that person. That's the job, to teach. You got to make adjustments. You can't just let it keep happening. You can't just let it keep happening. And in basketball, more so than ever, you can't just let people keep not blocking out, not staying with their man attached, and allowing fast breaks, not calling out your switches, not rotating, over helping. All those things are adjustable. You can stop those things. There's tape. There is tape. There's real-time footage. You have tablets now. What's going on? Because it keeps happening. The Hawks are 28th in fast break points, 26th in block shots. That's effort. 25th in points given up in the paint. We're giving up 53 points in the paint or more every game. We're giving up 14 threes a game, every game or more. Isn't that upsetting to anybody? I did the show, What's the Point? Let me post that. Okay, I didn't post it earlier. So here's the show called What's the Point? Go check this out. Please do so. Hit pause on the show and then watch it. And again, like I said, I asked 3 questions. Have you ever played basketball before? Is it your goal to win that game? If so, and if the goal is to win, is it ever okay to let someone else do your job? Again, if I'm not setting screens or I'm not grabbing rebounds, if I'm not putting elbows in people, if I'm not blocking shots or contesting shots, I'm just out there. I'm one of the oldest out there. I could also hit a jumper, though. I could also pass the ball very well. So I could even out value stuff that I might not be able to do, especially with my messed up knee right now. I got out there. I went 3-2 that game. I shouldn't have played the last game. Went 3-2, though. I hit a game winner. Helped the team come back in the last game. We almost came back all the way. We were getting beat, too. My goal is to win games, though, when I go and play basketball. My goal is not to just get exercise. I get exercise at home. If I come out the house and I take a 15-minute drive to the gym and I lace up my knee brace and put my basketball shoes on, my Trae Youngs on, I'm out there to win the game. I'm out there to win the game. I'm going to set enough screens. I'm going to get enough rebounds. I'm going to hit enough jumpers. I'm going to hit enough turnaround jumpers because you can't stop my turnaround. Can't stop me, okay? I'm going to get enough passes to my players. My goal is to always get 6 assists a game. That's my goal. I'm trying to get 6 assists a game, okay? But if people aren't doing their job, something has to happen. One of the reasons and this is going back to Sunday night basketball, one of the reasons we lost a game was because we didn't have nobody calling out screens at all. Like, we were getting flabbergasted, okay? And when you don't call out screens, bad things typically happen. When you call out a screen, you know what can happen? You can hedge and let someone go through, stay with your man, or call out the switch, or fight through the screen. We don't do any of that as Hawks, and it shows on tape. I've shown y'all 6 games already. I'm about to show you game 77 against the Dallas Mavericks. We don't do that, and it's bad. It's detrimental. We don't win games like that. So that being said, you can't let players just do whatever. I actually did a show with that title as well. I'm gonna post that in the chat room again. That's not the whole link. When you get a chance to watch this show after you get off of work, just hit pause on the show and you can watch this episode right here. Boom, there it is in the chat. There you go. The Hawks lost 21 games this year by 7 points or less. Okay, and again, I'm gonna reiterate, we were 25th in points given up in the paint, 26th in block shots, 28th in fast break points, and we gave up 14 threes or more a game. We did not score enough to even that out. 118 points should be enough to win games, but not when you're doing that. Not when you're doing that. We needed to score 124 points a game or 125 points, or like the Pacers who play no defense, 130. You can get away with stuff when you're scoring 130 average a game. You can get away with a lot, okay? We dare you to miss a shot because we're shooting, okay? Again, Pacers scored 150 points twice on the Hawks this year. Doggone. Okay? Now one of the things I've been talking about, and this is where the big man coach comes in at, both of our centers last year, each and every single time, when a screen is set, they they go over to the ball handler. even if a screen isn't even set. If it looks like a screen is going to be set, they don't care. They're looking at the ball handler. You know what happens every single doggone time? And this is bad because we're not good at help defense either. Clint's guy or Bruno's guy crashes to the bucket, gets an easy dunk or a layup, or they slide out to the three. If they're a three-point shooter, they slide out to the three. And since Clint Capela don't think nobody in the league can hit three-pointers because he can't, 0% career three-point percentage, Clint never comes up out the paint to contest. He doesn't contest the three. That's bad. That Miami Heat game we lost double overtime, Bam, and others, that Charlotte game. Go watch those games on Around the ATL on IMTM Worldwide Radio. It ain't cool, y'all. It's disturbing, but anyway. All we got to do is have that adjustment to be like, Clint, take a breath and look and see, recognize what's actually happening there. And see, this is also where communication comes in. We could simply just switch and never let nobody be open. Make them do something different. And then if there's a split second time, this is what I do all the time, you can always switch back to your man. You don't have to leave your man on an island like the Hawks do all the time. You can switch back. And or worst case, you double team. We don't know how to do that. Arms up, double them. Quickly, boom, there you are. Now they got to pass it back out and reset the offense. Now you can switch back again. Get to your man. Clint, I got him. Switch. Stay with your man. They fight through that. Here comes the screen. That's what my teams do. I'm old man Royster out there. Chris, you're by yourself. That means I got to back up a little bit. I'm trying not to let my man get by me. Now, Sunday, I really couldn't help it. My knee was kind of there, but I wasn't trying to risk it. But I couldn't go side to side, so I had to give up a lot, because I couldn't risk it. My knee was kind of, But I won 3 games though. But our bigs always gravitate to the ball handler no matter what, even if our player makes it through the screen, and that's the painful part. DJ made it through the screen. Hunter made it through the screen. Why are you at half court, Bruno? When you watch the Dallas game, you're going to see a lot of that, unfortunately. Okay. So that's why I say we need a big man coach. We need a defensive coach to be like, hey, how come you can't stay attached to your man? Why is your back turned to your man? Here's your assignment, but your back is over here watching the ball over here. Why are there 4 Hawks in the paint? Why are there 3 opposing players at the three-point line waiting for a pass because the ball penetrator can just pass it to anybody he wants to because everybody's watching the ball? What are we doing? You're going to see that in that Dallas game. Bogey gave up like 7 threes in that game. He gave up 7 of the 18 threes in that game by himself because of that, okay? Which is why I say Bogey can't start. We just can't afford it. The center position has changed over the last 15 years, guys. There's still basics of basketball, though, that the center got to be able to do. And right now, Clint can't do those things. For one reason or another, I don't know. But he ain't 2020 Clint that had Defensive Player of the Year votes. He's not Houston Clint either. Okay? And I did a show a few years ago about Clint specifically. There was a period of time where Clint wasn't playing. And I did a show, is Clint really the difference? There is that show right there. Go check that out. And again, you might not like actual game results because that does matter. Sorry if people don't believe that it does or not, but it does. And there is an actual episode where I went specifically for the games that Trae didn't play, just to show y'all the differences in regards to what teams are doing against the Hawks without Trae there. Because again, a whole bunch of people say, well, it's Trae Young's fault of all of our losses because of his defense. And I'm like, well, what about the games he didn't play? Okay. So the first half of the first review I did of the 2023 season was about that. I actually went through those 28 games, almost all of them. and I showed what the Hawks did and what the Hawks players did and what the top 3 players on the other team did against the Hawks without Trae Young being there. So there is that one in the chat room right there. Go watch that. It's very interesting. Okay? Because we didn't stop nobody. Okay? Didn't stop nobody. But it's the first half of that show there. And again, as a reminder, when Trae was out, it wasn't just Trae out. There was a period of time where Trae and Saddiq Bey and Okongwu and Jalen Johnson were out all at the same time. You had multiple people out during the season. And again, Hunter, who has never played 70 games in the season, missed 25 games again. We didn't have enough resources to overlap any of that. Our record dictated that. But for some reason, that don't matter to nobody. It's just Trae's fault no matter what. No matter what. You don't just simply replace 25 and 10 out of your lineup. And again, they were 14 and 14 without him. But they were 14 and 14 without Trae and Jalen and Saddiq Bey and Okongwu. They were 14 and 14. Trae is not the best defender. I've never said that he is. He's not. But he ain't the worst. Okay. Do you know that Trae Young is 14th in the NBA in charges taken? How come Clint isn't ahead of him on that? Clint ain't far back, but he ain't ahead of him. And nobody else on the Hawks is either. That's strange to me. Hunter ain't. DJ weren't there. Matthews? Come on, guys. And he don't even play. You know, in the playoffs, Trae gets 1.7 steals a game. That's almost 2 steals a game. He did that in the Boston series, by the way. He had 10 steals. By the way, I almost forgot about this. By the way, in that Boston series, that playoff series, he had 10 steals and 4 blocks, 17 defensive boards. Hunter had 2 blocks and 4 steals. He only had 10 more defensive boards than Trae. And Trae wasn't guarding Brown or Tatum. Clint had 3 blocks and 6 steals. Of course, he had more rebounds. He had 35. DJ also had 10 steals. He had 1 block and 27 boards. Trae Young had more blocks than our best 3 defenders in that series, and more steals than 2 of our 3 defenders. We should have won that series. I'm telling you that. We just needed more than 8 points a game from Clint, though, in the playoffs. We got 8 points, 8 boards. See, that makes a difference. And again, last year, they didn't have Porzingis. They had Al Horford out there. Now, Al Horford can generate some stuff because he can hit a jump shot. He can hit free throws. And he can block some shots, too. We needed more than 8 points a game out of Clint, though. And at worst, we needed him to stop people. We needed him to stop all layups. Clint is not good at stopping layups, y'all. He always takes bad angles. Always. And he's not good in post defense. We needed more than 8 points a game, though, last year from Clint. We needed that. We can't get it because he can't hit a jumper anywhere on the court. He can't hit a 3. That's well documented. He has a 0. He's never taken a 3. 0%. 0%, people, is bad. In a league where everybody can hit a 3, can he at least hit 25% from 3? Be a little bit of a 3? I'm not asking Clint Capela to be 30% from 3. But to be 0, it's not cool when you can't hit a jumper from 17, 15, 10 feet out and you can't finish inside. Clint Capela had his worst field goal percentage in his career outside of his rookie season this year at 57%. If you can't hit shots from everywhere else, you got to be dominant inside. You got to finish everything, especially if you can't hit free throws. We rely on that. But for some of y'all, that don't matter for some reason. I don't understand why. Tatum had 27 points a game in that series, and Brown averaged 22. And again, Trae Young wasn't guarding either of those players. What about the guys who are supposed to be guarding those players? Y'all don't care about that? I wrote an article about Okongwu in the 2021 season. I'm going to post that now in the chat. Y'all check that out. About why, it would be good to go ahead and make the switch then. If we're talking about improving the team, let's put Clint on the bench and let him concentrate on rebounds and let O do all the other stuff. Especially now because O can hit threes. Back then he wasn't hitting threes yet, but now he can hit it. He can hit it straight up or in the corner. He hit that shot. He always is good finishing inside. He actually has some moves. He has touch. He can hit a jumper and he can hit free throws. 70% or more. And he can rebound. But when you can't hit from 0 to 5 feet of the basket as a center, that's a problem. 11 points a game right now ain't enough for how the team was constructed. And even with how the team is constructed now, it would just be better if he was coming off the bench. So here's what I did. Now, you have the visuals of some of these games I'm about to review already, but I am going to go through some games I haven't gotten to yet in my review. So when I do those games, come back to this particular episode and you can kind of match up the breakdown a little bit, okay? So game 83 was the play-in games against the Chicago Bulls. Now in this game, the reason I'm doing this is to see is Clint's production and his what he's done, what he's doing in these games, is it winning or losing games? Because again, the other contention is we can't get rid of Clint. Clint got to go. Now, I haven't said Clint necessarily has to go. I know some people have said that. I would rather keep Clint and just have him come off the bench. I think he'd be more valuable coming off of our bench. Let him get all the rebounds. Let him become a help defender on defense. Okay? But let not him be on all these centers that he can't stop them. And he can't score against them. He can't match up scoring against them, which is the biggest issue. Okay? So let's see in some of these games how things panned out. Okay? So again, game 83, the play-in game against the Chicago Bulls. And again, thanks for all who are going to watch this later. I know nobody watching right now. That's cool. No big deal. I didn't plan this show. I was going to really kind of try to do this later in the week, but I couldn't hold off anymore. So game 83, play-in game against the Chicago Bulls. We lost that game, right? Now, in that game, we lost that game, what was it, 130 to 114, I think was the final score. So Clint actually had a good game from the floor in this game. He was 11 for 15, very rare, but he did his part on the offensive side this game. He had 17 rebounds too, 13 defensive. One of the things I've been talking about with Clint is we need more defensive rebounds out of him. This year, he only had 6. He wasn't getting 9, 10 defensive rebounds a game. He had 4.6 offensive rebounds, which means he wasn't getting a lot of defensive rebounds because of that. But in this game, he had 13 defensive rebounds. He had 22 points. We lost the game 131-116. My bad, I missed that. But did rebounds win this game for us? Everybody has to rebound, though, right? The Bulls out-rebounded the Hawks 47-34 in this game. Remember, Hunter had 2 rebounds in this game. 2. He had 8 points. He was the only starter who didn't score 20 points in that play-in game, an elimination game. We needed Hunter, and we didn't get anything. Nobody cares about that, though, for some reason. Then on top of that, he couldn't stop DeRozan. On top of that, he couldn't stop White. But everybody has to rebound, though. Bulls won this game primarily because they hit 42% from 3, though. They shot 56.8 from the floor. And most of those were layups. Remember, Kobe White. Clint Capela gave up 29 points in this game. In a combination of the open jumpers he gave up and the layups that he was giving up. And again, I'm going to post the show, the episode. It's the second half of this show where I'll review the entire game shot for shot of all the Bulls field goals. You can watch it for yourself. Okay? I just posted that one in the chat. So when you get to this part of the show, just pause and watch that review. But Clint gave up 29 points in that game. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Game 82 against the Pacers. Now, Clint didn't play this actual particular game, but I did want to bring out this game because Bruno did play in this game. Okay. And again, this is why I talked about we need a big man coach. Because in this particular game, Bruno gave up 30 points in this game. Okay. And then Muhammad Gay gave up like 29 points in this game. So our bigs couldn't stop nobody. How do we know that? Because Miles Turner and Siakam destroyed us, 30 points apiece. Trae Young don't play Siakam or Turner. It don't make no sense for people to say, oh, Trae Young was supposed to stop 7-foot Miles Turner from hitting all his shots with his 8-foot wingspan jumper, and Trae Young at 6'1" supposed to stop Miles Turner. That makes no logical sense in any basketball galaxy. But I'm supposed to believe that that is supposed to happen. It takes a whole team to give up 157 points in a game. Nobody played well in that game, but doggone it, 157 points, that's absurd, okay? Bruno had 2 boards in that game. Hunter had 2 boards in that game, and Gay had 9 boards in that game. But the Hawks didn't lose the rebound battle and lose the game because of that. They lost because they gave up 52% from 3 and 65% from the floor. That's why you lost that game. Shot for shot, I showed you this game, and here it is. I'm posted in the chat. This is game 82 against the Pacers. And again, this was the second game that the Hawks gave up 150 points to the same team. Game 81, Clint did play this game. This is a game where the Hawks lost by 3 points. So let's see if Clint's rebounding or anything that he did was a preventative measure for them to lose this game. But I've already told you they lost the game, right? They lost by 3. 3 points they lost. Now, Clint, offensively, he was 6 for 8 from this game. And by the way, those who are just now coming on, appreciate it. Make sure you go back and watch from the beginning. Thanks. And make sure you subscribe to the IMTM Worldwide Radio page. Again, I didn't really plan this show. I said 4 o'clock this morning. I'm going to go ahead and try to do it. Here I am. So Clint was 6 for 8 from the floor. He was one of 2 from the free throw line. He had 13 points in the game. He had 11 boards, 2 offensive, 9 defensive. He had a block. But Rudy Gobert had 25 points and 19 rebounds. Was Trae Young supposed to stop Rudy Gobert? Honest question. Anybody can answer that for me. Rudy also had 5 blocks in that game. He was 10 of 10 from the field. Rudy didn't miss a shot. He was also 5 for 8 from the free throw line. The Hawks lost this game by 3 points. So did Clint's rebounding, because again, that's the thing that people keep saying, that he, as a starter, we just got to keep him in there because he rebounds. Did that help us win or lose this game? Because how did Rudy have 25 points? How did he have 19 boards? More to the point. By the way, Hunter in this game had 2 rebounds. He was 5 of 14 for the game that we lost by 3 points. Hawks and the Wolves had 14 turnovers each, so that wasn't the reason we lost either. Hawks did only have 1 block, while the Timberwolves had 11. Remember, the Hawks are 26 in blocks, 2023 season. The real reason we lost this game, it was a 1-point game where in back-to-back possessions, we left Kobe Buffkin on an island with one of the best scorers in our game, Anthony Edwards. No, there's no guarantee that if we had double-teamed Anthony Edwards that somebody else wouldn't have hit a shot. But it would have been a little bit less likely, because in that particular case, nobody else on that floor is getting the ball except for Anthony Edwards. And both times, he could have been doubled at least and see what could have happened. Maybe a miracle would have happened and everybody would have been able to rotate. Make sure the open shooter was guarded and we had a contested shot, and maybe we get the rebound and come back and score and take the lead, and the game is over. We lost this game by 3 points. We were only down 1 point when Anthony Edwards hit back-to-back shots in the fourth quarter. By the way, Trae Young wasn't playing the fourth quarter. He was still having minutes restrictions from coming back from injury. This was actually his second game back. He didn't play, I can't remember the exact minute part, but he didn't play the last 5 minutes of that fourth quarter, I believe. Kobe Buffkin was on Anthony Edwards. The first time he hit a shot, Muhammad Gay could have doubled him, and Muhammad Gay was just kind of out there like this. He was, should I double him or shouldn't I double him? Should I double him? Nobody from the bench was given no instruction. And then the last shot that Anthony Edwards hit, Carson Matthews was basically playing, what is it called? Had a defensive 5-second. He was just sitting in the paint, guarding nobody, and he just stood there, watched Anthony Edwards back down Kobe and hit a turnaround jumper off the glass. He watched him do it. See, I could never have gotten away with that. If I got the best player on the other team against my smallest or not great defensive player, I got to come double, or somebody got to switch. We got to get the ball out of his hands because he's going to try to beat us. See, the Hawks just let everybody do whatever they want to. We let Rudy Gobert drop 25 on us in this game. Did I post this yet? Here's game 81 against the Timberwolves. Y'all can go watch shot for shot. Clint gave up about 14 points in that game, but everybody was giving up points in this game, but Clint did give up 14 points as well. Game number 80 versus the Charlotte Hornets. Very upsetting because we lost this game by 1 point. Remember, the Hawks lost 21 games plus last year by 7 points or less. Remember that. We lost this game 115 to 114. This was actually Trae Young's first game back from injury. He was definitely on a minutes restriction. He did not play the whole fourth quarter. Clint from the field was 7 from 10 from the floor, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He had 6 rebounds. No, 6 defense, 6. He only had 6 rebounds in this game, but he had 15 points. Okay. Hunter and DJ didn't play in this game. Trae in this game was 5 for 5 with 11 assists in this game. And again, didn't play the fourth quarter. Clint didn't play the fourth quarter either in this game. He only played 20 minutes the whole game. But the 8 points that he gave up did kind of come into play, especially against a certain player. I'm going to post this in a second. But Bruno gave up 17 points in this game. And again, this is why I keep saying we need a big man coach. We need a defensive coach. Clint gave up 2 threes in this game that were unnecessary, and basically because he just didn't come out to defend it. Those 2 threes hurt. 1 point game, that hurts. The Hawks had a 92 to 77 point lead in the fourth quarter, and we lost the game 115 to 114. Shot for shot, here is that game. Y'all can go watch that. It's in the chat. Game 79 versus the Heat. This was very upsetting because this was a game we lost by 6 points in double freaking overtime. Okay. Now, in this game, Clint didn't have a good game offensively. He was 3 of 8 from the floor for 6 points. He had 11 rebounds, 6 offensive, and 5 defensive. So did that help us win or lose this game? Now, in this game, DJ had 13 rebounds and Hunter had 11. Hunter had a lot of rebounds in the game for once. How many times does that happen? Not many. Hawks actually out-rebounded the Heat 59 to 46. So did this win us the game, though? Was it points in the paint? Heat had 44. Hawks had 23 second chance points in this game. Hawks only gave up 10 fast break points in this game, so they actually got back. The Hawks still lost this game by 6 points, so in double overtime. So why did they lose? Now, I just told you Clint went, 3 for 8 from the game? That's a few misses there. Just saying, because Clint doesn't shoot threes, doesn't shoot jumpers, all those shots were around the basket. We already know that. That's proven, right? But missing 5 shots, it comes up, don't it? Bam only shot the ball 8 times himself, but he was 4 of 8, and 2 of those were 3. Ouch, right? Bam also had 7 boards and 7 assists in that game, 3 steals and a block. Clint, unfortunately, gave up about 10 points in that game, and those 10 points definitely came back on us. DJ gave up 18 points in this game, though. Bogey gave up 19 points, and Hunter gave up 14 points in this game. So that negates the 23 points that Hunter did have, the 29 points that DJ had. Bruno gave up three three-pointers in this game. The Hawks gave up 18 threes in this game, by the way, folks. 18. The reason this game even went to double overtime, because in the first overtime, Bogey just let Highsmith hit a wide open three because he refused to stay with Highsmith. He wasn't going to stay with his man. And it's the second time he gave up a three to Highsmith. But this one caused them to go to double overtime, and they lost it in double overtime because DJ actually had made it in the first overtime to win the game. He hit the bucket for them to have the lead. The game was over. They had it. And Bogey gave up a wide open three. If Clint just went 6 for 8 instead of 3 for 8, we win that game easy. And again, Trae didn't play this game. Trae was still out. It is Miami Heat double overtime loss. Here's that game. I'm posting it in the chat now. There you go. By the way, look at Tyler Hero hitting shots all over the place. Look at Jovic, I think is pronounced it. Look at him hitting shots all over the place. We couldn't stop them. It's one thing not stopping Jimmy Butler, but you got to stop somebody, don't you? And Hunter and DJ both played in that game. Game 78 against the Denver Nuggets. This was very upsetting to me because this game we lost 142 to 110. And again, there's a streak of games where the Hawks gave up 18 threes, 23 threes, and 18 threes in a row. I just gave you the Heat game. This is the game that the Hawks gave up 23 threes in a game. In this game, again, there's Clint rebounds matter enough to win the game for you because that's why people say we got to keep him as a starter because he rebounds, he plays defense and all these things. But let's see. Clint in this game was 5 of 6 from the floor. He was actually 9 of 12 from the free throw line, so that's good. He had 19 points, 12 boards, 5 offensive, 7 defensive. He had a steal. Joker had a triple-double, though. 19 points, 11 assists, 14 boards. He was 2 of 3 from 3. He was 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He was 6 of 13 from the floor overall. Hunter had 1 rebound in this game. DJ had 12. Why does DJ keep out-rebounding our wing players? I'm not sure. JJ had 6 rebounds. Denver out-rebounded the Hawks 47 to 38. But that's not why we lost this game. Clint gave up 29 points in this game. Bogey gave up 26. DJ gave up 23. Hunter gave up 18. Bruno off the bench gave up 14. Hawks lost this game because we gave up 48 points in the paint, 24 fast break points, 56% from 3. Denver shot 60% from the floor, y'all, in this game. So again, rebounds, are they winning or losing games for us rather than defense winning games for us? Because I show this shot for shot, it ain't the rebounds, folks. It's the inability to stop people on defense. It's an issue. It's a problem. You give up 23 threes in a game at 56% from 3, and you don't think that's a problem? Because people don't contest shots, people don't switch, people don't rotate, people don't call out nothing, and you just got people wide open just hitting threes all over the court? 23 of them? And y'all not mad about that? And Trae Young ain't there to blame for that. Again, I'm reviewing these games shot for shot to show y'all what's going on. It's a team issue. And these things can be fixed. It can be fixed. And they're just not. Now, I'm about to go through a couple of games where I haven't done the actual physical review yet online, but I'm going to get to it. So the next game is game 76 versus Detroit Pistons. Now, this was actually a win. Now, initially, when I decided to review the 2023 season, I was only going to go through the losses. But I'm going to add a couple of victories as well to show y'all some differences in the victories even. So in the win, in this particular game, the Hawks won 121 to 113. They barely won this game. This was at home too, I believe. Clint was 5 of 9 from this game, had 11 points. He had 16 boards, 2 offensive, 14 defensive rebounds, and 2 blocks. So he played pretty well. Pistons lost 68 games, though. We barely beat them at home. We did play at home. I have it in my notes. The Detroit Pistons only had 2 players hit double figures other than Malachi Flynn, and those 2 players scored 11 points each. Malachi Flynn, who averaged 5 points, 4 or 5 points a game, scored 50 points on the Atlanta Hawks, and Trae Young ain't there to blame for that either. He barely won this game. Why don't y'all care about stuff like that? Me Too got a layup in the first quarter because Clint overhelped on a 9 screen. So Metu just got a layup on JJ because Clint won't stay on his man. I did write a note. I did look at that game a little bit. Also in that first quarter, Bruno, Duran and Metu, and Flynn has got layups on Bruno. Now Bruno ain't here no more, and that's one thing I said. We can't keep Bruno. We can't keep both of them playing bad defense, not adjusting, not knowing what to do out there. Bruno in his minutes can give up 14, 15 points a game by himself. When you're losing games by 3, 4 points or less, that hurts you. Defense is defense. Again, rebounds are helpful up to an extent. Getting the defensive rebounds to me are more important than the offensive rebounds because if you just play good post defense, that don't matter as much. But what does matter is not switching, not rotating, not calling out those screens and things of that nature. Defensive rebounds, again, rebounds are a result of a missed shot. Let's stop the shots, though. That'll be better for everybody if we could do that. I'm not asking for Clint to be Rodman necessarily, but it just has to be, again, my job when I'm on the court, my guy can't score. That's my goal. That's my goal for the whole night. No matter what I do, my guy can't score. And that's the attitude we don't have as a team. Our better defensive players don't have that attitude because they stop nobody. Shooting guards averaged 30 points a game against the Hawks this year. Small forwards averaged 27 points a game against the Hawks this year, guys. Rodman had a 7-year stretch. No, 10-year stretch. He was either Defensive Player of the Year candidate, a Defensive Player of the Year winner, first, second team all defense. Why can't we have someone close to that? That would be helpful right now. Because the Hawks in the last 10 years haven't had that. 10 years we haven't had that. Blocking out your man. Not letting your man get open on the fast break. Staying attached to him. Not being lackadaisical. So many times you just see Hunter just letting his man just release. It ain't cool. We were 28th in fast break points. That's a whole team, guys. Not just one player or even 1 or 2 players. That's a whole team not knowing where their guy is at and not caring about it, basically, either. Blocking out your man. Can't we just do that sometimes, you know? Game 75 against the Bulls. This was also a win. At this point, we had a record of 35-40. Bulls had a record of 36-40. People were like, man, we're going to lose all these. We should lose all these games. Players don't lose games on purpose. And you can see that with the fact that we have a list of games I just reviewed where we lost by 6 points, 3 points, and 1 point. Why didn't we get blown out in all those games if nobody wanted to play, right? Whatever. But the Hawks still had a chance to get home court for the play, and you never know at that point what could have happened, but we'll never know because that did not happen. Anyway, in that game, Clint had a decent game. He was 6 of 9 from the floor. He was 3 of 7 from the free throw line, though. Had 11 boards, 5 offensive, 6 defensive. He had a steal, had a block. Kobe White only had 22 points in that game. Vucevic only had 5. I'm mentioning that for a particular reason. DeRozan had 31. We won this game, though. But we went from that game to about a week and a half later, Kobe White drops 42, Vucevic has 24, and DeRozan has 22 in an elimination game where Hunter only had 8 points, 2 boards. Again, Clint Capela gave up 29 points in that elimination game. I've already posted that one up. You can watch that. Game 74 against the Bucks. We lost this game 122 to 113. Lost this game by 9 points. Clint was 5 of 9 from the floor. He had 10 points. He had 8 rebounds. He had a steal and 2 blocks. So what could Clint have done to try to help us win this particular game that we only lost by 9 points? By the way, Hunter was 5 of 13 in this game for 13 points and 2 rebounds. Bogey had 10 rebounds in this game. He out-rebounded Clint. Bitt had 8 points on 5 shots in 32 minutes. Pat Bev had 18 points. Giannis had 36. Middleton, 21. And again, I hadn't gotten to this review yet, but the Bucks shot 55% from the floor, had 52 points in the paint. They only shot 28% from 3, though. They only out-rebounded the Hawks by 1 rebound. So again, did Clint's rebounds in this game help us win this game? His 10 points, did it help us win the game? We lost it by 9. Clint had 10. In the NBA, there are about 25 bigs that average more points a game than Clint Capela in his 11 a game. There's about 25 bigs that have a better three-point percentage than Clint, which is basically everybody, because Clint is at 0%. It's not hard. There's about 15 centers that shoot 70% or higher at the free throw line. There's 13 centers that have a better defensive rating, for that matter. Okay, 20 centers that have a better field goal percentage. Here are just a little bit of a quick glimpse of centers in the Eastern Conference that we're going to go against more so than anybody else because they're in the Eastern Conference between our division and the rest of the divisions. Valanciunas is now with the Wizards. You got Wagner and Wendell Carter in Orlando. You got Bam and Kelly Ware in Miami. You got Nick Richards and Mark Williams and Grant Williams with the Hornets. You got Vucevic with the Bulls. You got Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley with the Cavs. You got Duran and Isaiah Stewart with the Pistons. You got Miles Turner and James Wiseman with the Pacers. You got Brook Lopez and Giannis in Milwaukee. You got the Latvian Dirk, Porzingis, and Horford, if he doesn't retire, in Boston. You got Claxton and Deron Sharp with the Nets. You got Jacob Poeltl, Kelly Olynyk in Toronto. You got Joel Embiid and Drummond in Philly. You got Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims with the Knicks. Now, with all those players being mentioned, how many of these does Clint match up well against to even it out production-wise? Maybe Poeltl sometimes, even though Jacob kind of hurts us sometimes. Mitchell Robinson, maybe a little bit. Anybody else? Not Bam for sure. Not Ragnar, not Valanciunas. We'll see what Ware does, but he looks pretty good. Again, Vucevic just dropped 24 on us. Miles Turner? Brook always looks like Hakeem Olajuwon against us for some reason. And then he blocks all of our shots. So what about the West? Got Rudy and Cat with the Wolves, because sometimes Cat plays center depending on lineups. You got Chet and Hartenstein in OKC now. You got Joker and Saric in Denver. Ayton and Klingon in Portland. Kessler and Laurie in Utah. Anthony Davis with the Lakers. Zubac with the Clippers. Mooney with Golden State. They really actually don't have no centers. I don't know what they're doing. Nurkic and Plumlee with the Suns and Bobo. Sabonis with the Kings. Zach Edey and Triple J with Memphis. Daniel Theus with New Orleans. I really don't know who their center is. That's the closest I can come. Seguin, Steven Adams in Houston. Wemby, of course, with the Spurs, and Derek Lively and Gafford in Dallas. Now, those are only 2 games a year with the West, but who does Clint even out in those with those teams? Mooney for sure. He can outplay Mooney, I believe, most of the time. But not Anthony Davis, not Ayton. Ayton dropped 33 on us for no reason. I think he only missed 5 shots the whole game. Not Joker, not Chet, not Rudy, not Cat, barely Hartenstein, not Seguin. He's always hitting shots. Not Wemby, definitely. Sabonis? No. Go look at all the Hawks losses and look what Clint's production was in those games and ask yourself, did his productions could have stopped those losses? Is Clint slowing down these bigs on the other side? Just at least slow them down. Or is it Trae's job to stop all the bigs in the league, all the 7-footers, all the wingspan guys, all the guys who weigh 250 plus? Trae Young at 6'1", his job is to stop the centers and the power forwards and the small forwards and the shooting guards on top of his man as well. Again, Trae ain't the best defender, but he ain't the worst, and he has a job. Just like Dominique Wilkins had a job. This is why I say Clint needs to come off the bench and just concentrate on just getting boards and being a help defender with the second team. Him coming off the bench and limiting his minutes prevents a certain amount of points given up. It helps us even out things on the competition level. Games where he gives up all the three-pointers. Games he gives up wide open shots. Games he gives up layups because he leaves his man cutting down the middle all the time. It limits that. It makes your team better by default. Here's my proposed lineup for next year. Trae, Dyson, Zach, JJ, and O. Off the bench, Kobe, Bogey, Hunter, Muhammad Gay, and Clint. Reserve, Seth, Garrison, Vitt, Nance Jr., David Roddy, Barlow, Keaton Wallace. I don't know what we're going to do with Cody still. I feel the type of players that we have coming off the bench is much better than what we had last year cumulatively because of what they can actually do. Lengthwise, speed-wise, rotating. Those things are going to be a big deal. And I did do a review of Roddy, Barlow, and Wallace. Let me post that real quick in the chat. Y'all can go watch that on your own accord. Make sure you pause the show and then you watch it and then come back. I believe the type, again, I just mentioned it, the type of players that we have are a better fit. Closing gaps, using their length, getting back on defense, a few extra rebounds in the paint. As a team, again, it can't just be Clint, because if Clint ain't getting 10, 15 defensive rebounds a night, like he was in the 2020 season, he was getting 14 rebounds a game. He was getting 9 or 10 defensive rebounds a game. He's not doing that now. And you don't have John here no more either. We don't have anybody. You don't have that no more. And yeah, JJ is coming into his own and everything, but then he got hurt. Like, we don't have enough of a bench. That's why these bench players can help. Off the bench especially. Even out what other benches do against us as well. Okay? But the extra length that you have on the front line, again, you can't just be a 6'5" team forever. Just can't do it. Finishing at the rim is going to be better. Better on-ball defense with Dyson there. It's going to be better having ZR doing whatever he does. That combo of O on the floor and JJ. And by the way, JJ and O play very well together. They always have. Having them on the floor starting is going to be the best thing ever. Okay. And because, again, O can finish at the rim at 77% and hit free throws and hit threes. He's had several games, 16, 18 points, 10 rebounds a game, 2 block shots. He's done it. He just needs the starting minutes to do it every night. Bogey and Hunter coming off the bench also makes our team better by default. It limits their time on the court where they're giving up layups and wide open jumpers because of their inability to stay on their man. They're ball watchers instead of just staying on their man. So if you limit their ability to give up points, you're a better team. Let them score points off the bench. That's their job. We need Bogey and Hunter to get us at least 25 points a game off the bench. If they do that, then all you need is a good little bit of number of points from Kobe and Muhammad Gay. Clint, if you're playing him at starting second center off the bench, you should be able to get 35 points when you need to. You might not need 25, 35 points off the bench every night, but the nights that you need it, you have the capability of doing it, mostly because you got Hunter and Bogey there. But you also have the ability to bring in a third string of players that have some capabilities. Roddy, pretty good. I saw his tape, right? And I actually did. Again, I posted it earlier in the chat. Y'all can go watch my review of those three players. So let me do this. I'm going to show you some visuals again. I told you that there's 2 games that the Pacers scored 157 points, right? Well, I'm going to show you some footage from the first game where they scored 150. And all I want you to do is think about this. Which is better? Having Clint doing what you see him do, or having someone like Miles do what he does? Okay, and tell me why you would prefer Clint doing what he was doing. Okay, so let me see if I can find it real quick. Here we go.
Nobody's benefited more from playing with Tyrese than Miles Turner. He's been able to put him in position to make plays, catch the ball, giving him confidence.
Murray again, too strong off the glass. Capela, and they gang rebound, and Halliburton tiptoes along the end line. Yeah, good to see Bruce Brown out there again. Andrew Nembhard missing his 2nd consecutive game out due to injury. He was in the starting lineup as the Pacers started this win streak. That's a miss by Capela, rebounded by Turner.
Enough to freeze the defense.
And missed 5 straight games with a right knee bone bruise. Had 15 points the other night against Milwaukee. That's a blocked shot.
This is where the psychology comes in. You want to make sure that Toppin gets rewarded for the fact that he played well.
Bay misses, rebound, there's Capela, and he missed it again, and that's Pacers ball.
That's all in the same game. That matters. That inability to finish at the rim as a big, when you can't hit from nowhere else, it matters, and it comes up in our losses a lot. And then on the flip side, Clint's inability to play the post position than to play outside of the paint on defense and giving up way too many jumpers, way too many threes. So let me show you that.
These are 2 teams that average better than 14 made threes per game. Turner again in the center of the floor. Goes inside against Bay. And a foul. Again, the Pacers had great balance. They had 4 starters in double figures. Jalen Smith was one of those with 11. Halliburton was the only starter not in double figures as Turner starts with a jump shot. Trent Forrest is in for Atlanta. Also Bogdan Bogdanovic. As Turner's jump shot good, Pacers lead by 5.
I can't tell you how good that pass is. Capela, that's how he makes his living. But you got to be ready to shoot that.
Halliburton gets in, finds Turner, and Turner lays it in.
Is it more valuable to have a center that can finish all shots from anywhere on the floor? Turner can hit a 3, he can hit a jumper, he can finish at the rim. So you tell me, what's more valuable? Because unless Clint is being a stalwart on defense and stopping everything, that would negate him having to score. Wouldn't matter as much. But since he can't do that and he doesn't score, you can't keep having him getting all the starter minutes. That's my only point. Again, I don't hate Clint. I just want us to win some games. And him being on the court more than anybody, definitely not in the fourth quarter. How can you legitimately put him in the fourth quarter of games when he can't stop nobody and he can't hit no shots? You're playing 4 on 5. I can't move like I used to, but if you leave me at the top of the key, I'm gonna hit a dagger in your eye, like Dominique has said plenty of times, right? That's a dagger in his eye. It's the dagger. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit. I can shoot. I don't shoot as much as I used to because I'm not selfish, and I let everybody, if I know I got shooters on my team, I'm trying to pass to my shooters. But if you mess around and leave me open, or if I get in the post, I'm feeling pretty good about my knee, I'm posting up. I'm getting some layups. I'm cutting to the basket. I was doing that Sunday night. I was cutting to the basket. I had a good point guard. passing it to me. Layup, turn around, hook. Clint can't do none of that. It'd be better for him to come off the bench. Help the team by coming off the bench. If Hunter is willing to come off the bench, he don't want to start no more, fine. Let him come off the bench and score points. He ain't going to rebound. He ain't going to do that. He ain't going to stop nobody, but he can score. Let him score 14 points a game off the bench. Bogey, he can't stop nobody. Let him score 14 to 17 points off the bench. Let him hit some threes off the bench. But coming off the bench, you stop him from going 1 for 17 too. Can't let him do that. You got to have some kind of a mindset to be like, you can't just let it happen. We got other players. And even last year, you still got to say, no, you can't let him go 1 for 10 or whatever. You got to stop that. Where's the adjustment? This Dallas game I'm about to do, probably later on today. Let me see if I can pull it up. One, two, three, four, five, six. Bogey gave up 27 points in this Dallas game I'm about to show y'all. He gave up 7 3-pointers himself. He can't start, y'all. He can't be the starter just because of that. There's multiple times that he's given up 5 or more threes in a game. Can't do that. That's 15 points. No matter what, that's 15 points added to the other team that didn't have to happen simply because Bogey is a ball watcher and he doesn't stay with his man. He always is pointing, assuming that somebody is going to get his man. No, Bogey, stay with your man. You see how easy that is? Just stay with your assignment. But there's nobody on the bench saying, hey, Bogey, when you leave your man, you're leaving a man wide open. You're leaving TH freaking J open. Why? 18 threes we gave up to Dallas. Game 77, I'm about to show y'all later on today. I want y'all to pay attention to that, okay? So that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up. Where is it at? There it is. So hopefully those who do get to watch this, and again, I know all y'all are at work. I didn't get a chance to really decide when I was going to do this show. I figured I would do it early this morning. But if you get to watch this show after the fact, again, subscribe to IMTM Worldwide Radio. Share it with at least one Atlanta fan, Atlanta sports fan, anybody who you see. If you like the content, go back and watch those shows that I posted in the comment section. And basically how I did it was, as I came across it, I talked about it and I posted it. So that way you could pause the show and watch that episode and then come back as I go through everything. Again, game 77, Hawks lost by 14 points. It was a winnable game. We actually came back in that game. But the Hawks gave up 18 threes a game, the 18 3-pointers again in a game. Okay. But it was a winnable game. Well, again, if you like the show, also follow on Facebook. Let me go ahead and do this real quick before I go. Make sure you go to Facebook or Instagram. So if you're on Facebook or Instagram or both, you can follow IMTM Worldwide Radio there. You can follow on Twitter if you like to get on Twitter a little bit. I'm always on there most of the time. Intellect ATL, and Jordan23 is my co-host. Jordan23 ATL. And again, my co-host Jordan Jackson right now, his mom just got diagnosed with cancer. So keep Jordan and his mom in your thoughts. Cancer is just evil. Again, I lost my dad, a long time ago, but it's been about 10 years now. And it still hurts. Cancer is not cool, y'all. So that's what he's not been available last few weeks, but we will plan to do a show eventually together again. Right now, I'm trying to keep us going, doing around the ATL side notes. That's why I created ATL side notes, to do separate shows in accordance with our full show, where we do all sports. We do Falcons, we do Braves, we do Dream, all in the same show, actually. Atlanta Vibe is a new volleyball professional team who actually had the MVP of the volleyball league, which is in my new intro if you saw her. So we'll be doing some shows about that team eventually as well. We do college football in Georgia as well. So UGA, Georgia Tech, when we think about it, Georgia State, Albany State, Clark, everybody. We probably will start doing high school again. A few years ago, we did start doing high school for the powerhouse teams or whatnot in the division. So we'll probably start doing that again. So if you're an alumni of a particular school and you like that, let us know. We'll try to concentrate on your school a little bit more than not. But for real, if you like Atlanta sports, you like Georgia sports, you like our content here on Around the ATL, we've been around for a minute, definitely subscribe to the IMTM Worldwide YouTube channel. It really will help us out a lot. I plan on starting interviews again. If you've never watched any of our interviews, we've interviewed Bob Rathman of the Atlanta Hawks, who does the play-by-play on TV, along with Dominique Wilkins, along with Steve Holman, who does the radio on 92.9. Had them on a whole bunch of times. We've had Jerome Jurinovich, who was the host of Hawks Live and Braves Live for 15 straight years. We've had, again, like I said, we've had Angel McCautry, Olympic gold winner, gold medalist, I should say. We've had Marvin Freeman of the Atlanta Braves on before. That was a really good show because we talked baseball, we talked pitching. It was a really cool show. We've had John Collins on the show way before he left to go to Utah, but we've had him on the show. We've had some of the parents of NBA players on our team. We've had a lot of interviews that are really good. So if you like that, go back and watch those as well. If you want to know which ones in particular, just message me and I'll let you know. But if you like, again, our content, like what we talk about and how we talk about sports in Atlanta, definitely I appreciate the support, but follow the page. That helps us out even more. We're trying to get back regular as it's been really tough. Like I said, I had some health issues that kept me out of play for a while. Like I said, work schedules and things of that nature. It's hard producing a show. It's hard creating and putting everything together because, again, that's where our journalistic integrity comes into play. We ain't just saying nothing for the sake of saying nothing. We like to back up our stuff. And it takes time to do all of that in the right way. Bob Rathman, on one of our shows, 2022, at our end of the season show for the Hawks, he said one of the things he appreciated about Around the ATL is our professionalism and how we do things in Atlanta. And that was one of my best moments ever so far in radio is Bob Rathman, Hall of Famer, telling me that. Now, I always will remember that. No matter what, I will have that on my docket. So I appreciate that. That being said, I think I'm going to get out of here. I think I got everything in. So again, if you didn't get to watch this, again, I know all of y'all are at work and everything. I didn't get to do this in the evening. I couldn't really wait that long. I decided to go ahead and knock this show out. But definitely watch the replay. Go back and watch the whole show. Watch the shows that I posted in the comment section one by one. You can go back and watch other episodes on Around the ATL as well. But until later, because I do plan to try to do the Dallas game tonight. So if you want to watch shot for shot what Dallas did to us and getting 18 threes, what Luka and Kyrie did, go make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification button and you see when I schedule it, and you'll be able to check that out. That being said, let me go ahead and get out of here. Y'all take care and y'all be good around the ATL, okay? Peace.